All right, back here at Kino again. We're gonna do a rock walk and talk with MP Productions LLC. I'll put the information down at the bottom, of course, in the description section. I don't know if they mail. I'm sure they would for the right amount of money. But these people got so much to carry here and carry back. But I'm sure they know the material like the back of their hand. And if you wanted to buy a pound, you know, 10 bucks, I'm sure they'd mail it to you. They're really good mom and pop people here in America. First things first, let's grab a water bottle. So a lot of these do not have the name on them. Some of them do. I gotta get it to mist. Will it mist? It will not mist. So this first material is Parcellus Purple Passion, $50 a pound. That is a pretty good price. I've seen some of this material go for over $150 a pound. Actually, if you watched my first video from the 2021 Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, they were the original people to discover this material. Then there's been a bit of a family feud between that family and the people who are really selling this material now, which is a big shame. But you know, we might think of it just as, oh, rocks. Why are we going to argue over rocks? Well, this is worth millions of dollars. That mine is producing a lot. I've seen some cabs of this easily go for over 300 bucks. So it's, you know, they're not arguing over rocks, they're arguing over money. This one looks like a little piece of seam. Some of the purples can be really dark. The first time I've ever heard of this material, I heard of it through Highland Park, when I was working for Highland Park filming for them one year. And I met the people who are not Armando and Son that are selling this stuff. And the old-time Mexican rancher who is selling this stuff, or maybe he's just dressed up like a rancher, was saying that they didn't like the name Purple Passion. They thought it was maybe too feminine, but that's the name the people gave it, and that is the name that stuck. If you're not familiar with this, it can be really dark purple with some pinks and some whites. Sometimes you can get a nice nodule, cut it, polish both sides, easily get $1,500 for just one piece of agate. You can get lucky in this pile of rocks and the quality that they're selling for $50, but it is a bit of a gamble for me. I'm so low budget. This would be a good one to slice out and make a cab. You could probably get 75 bucks for it. Agua Nueva Moss Agate kind of looks like Table Mesa Jasper. I've heard of this material before. I'm not too familiar with it. This is $3 a pound. This piece here is probably, 5 pounds, maybe 15 bucks. Of course, everything is negotiable. I personally don't like to negotiate on buying one piece of anything. So, look at that green. Almost looks like African honey opal. Over here, I can tell just by looking at it, this is Laguna Lace. I don't see a price on it, unfortunately, but when we think of lace agate, I think this is what a lot of us think of. Maybe it's different than crazy lace, like the Mexican crazy lace, which I think is from Chihuahua, or maybe this is the material that's from Chihuahua. I really don't know. Valencia Lace. I have some of this for sure at home in little tiny slabs. Not as gemmy as the Laguna Lace, but still very cool. This material is only $5 a pound. Some cool, what do they call the botroidal? Bots? Little bubbles? Bubble crystallinis? I don't really know. Ah, look at all those little crystallinis in this piece. You don't even need to cut this one to make your money back on. Look good in the office, or maybe at your girlfriend's house. And here we have Volcano Jasper, $3 a pound. That's a terrible name for such a beautiful stone. It looks like you got some moss-like greens in there. Some little speckles, almost looks like pudding stone or something. Pieces of jasper, pieces of agate, pieces of chert. I wonder if the natives from where this material comes from ever made points out of this. If I was to cut this material and slab it, I would definitely work on trying to get a little bit of all the colors in the slab, because it looks like it would be easy to just get reds or greens, which doesn't really do the material justice. Here's some rough Labradorite. I think everybody knows about this material. $7 a pound. That piece right there is blinging. Like many of you folks have heard me say in the past, I don't enjoy cutting this material because you have to chase the flash, and you really need to buy bigger pieces to cut on a large multi-$1,000 slab saw to find the flash and then chase it to really serve the stone. You can buy a $100 piece of this material and not get any good pieces out of it if you don't know how to cut it. Montana agate, one of my favorites. A lot of you folks who've probably seen Montana agate in the past might not be able to recognize it just from looking at it in the raw like this. But a piece like this definitely gives it away. Good old classic American material. I was talking to a high-end dealer at the Holodome who was selling iris agates. And I did ask him if Montana agate is what they were selling as iris agates. And he said, yeah, it is. This and another material that comes from overseas. Sometimes I see iris agates as cheap as like $10 a slice. Perhaps that's the material that's coming from overseas, because I have seen the same size slices go for over a couple $100. And maybe that is the Montana. I'm not sure. Either way, this is $5 a pound. Buy 100 pounds for $4 a pound. $400 for 100 pounds or more. And if you folks didn't already know, to get that iris effect out of this material, you have to cut it very, very, very thin. It's kind of hard to cut very thin stones on a cabbing machine. I have seen a gentleman on Facebook who's been making really nice iris thin slabs by using a Richardson Ranch high-speed grinder. He uses tape to keep it in his hand because that thing is spinning twice as fast as a lapidary machine. But he gets it done. Great material. Indonesian coral. It's almost impossible to tell what this material looks like unless it's really slabbed up or cabbed up. It's kind of a classic material. You can see cabs of this material going for $2. You can see the same material going for $50, $60. When I was filming Armando and Sons, they were talking about that there's 3 different qualities of this material. There's the yellow, there's the orange, and there's the red. And sometimes all 3 can be in the same piece. This looks like it's on its way to the orange. I don't want to crush my fingers. Yeah, let's do it. All right. Right there, you can kind of see what it'll look like after you slab it up. Most of this material here is the lower grade pale stuff, but for $6 a pound, you definitely can't complain. You could buy a pound, easily make 30, 40 cabs out of it. And even if you were selling for $5 each, you can totally make your money back many times. Since this material is really affordable and it's from overseas, it's definitely one of those materials you see everybody selling really affordably. So I've actually never cut this material myself, since it's so easy and affordable to buy. Mookaite from Australia. I think mookaite was actually the first material that I failed when I was trying to cut. I probably spent 3 hours trying to remove scratches, and it was just so bloody hard. It was just completely demoralizing trying to go back and get scratches out that I missed. Like I say all the time, a good lapidary is cutting as much as he or her is looking at the stone in between steps. I have a problem where I don't look at the stone until I'm completely done, and if I did so, I probably wouldn't have failed with this mookaite many years ago. That is a stunning dendrite on this piece. That would make a bad to the bone cab. This is probably pushing 15, 20 pounds. You could definitely make the entire weight's worth back in cutting this one cab out of the dendrite. I've never seen mookaite that was, I've never seen mookaite from Australia that has dendrites like that before. This looks like some fluorite. It is fluorite, $4 a pound. Might be a little hard to see with the exposure of this cheap camera. But super nice. I'm not a big fan of fluorite, but I might have to get some of this material. I don't have a problem cutting it. The cutting, it's the easy part. It's the polishing. If you're not careful, you can easily burn up this material. So like when I'm polishing it, if I put too much pressure on the material, it can actually fracture underneath the initial surface, and you have to dig it out with the hard wheels. This reminds me of the stuff I was getting from Mexico, out of Chihuahua. I don't know if it is or if it isn't, but I do like the little crystalline growth that's on the top. Some of these would look good just as is. It's like gold, and that purple is intense. I definitely gotta buy a pound of this. This one is the elephant in the room for sure. It's got some like strawberry colors inside of that with the purple and the gold. From the side, you'd almost not be able to tell that it's an agate at all. This stuff is silly. Kryptonite, it's a man-made glow-in-the-dark material. $10 a pound. I remember last year being upset that I didn't buy any of this material because I've been seeing a lot of people crushing it up and putting it inside of turquoise chip inlay pieces, which makes it glow in the dark. So even though it is a little silly to just make cabs out of this man-made material, which is probably a little softer than glass, it would be cool to buy some, use it in chip inlay, and yeah, I'm sure the heady kids out there and the wooks would love it. This is a super classic, one of the most famous materials from Russia, and that's charite. I talked to the gentleman about this material last year because I'm not used to seeing it in these weird bricks. Supposedly this material is older, which is why it's cut like this. I thought the gentlemen and ladies who were working this material were cutting it like this, but they told me that they got it like this, and this is a much older material. They also told me that this is getting harder to find in finer qualities. This is a material that you can find a $1 cab of, or you can easily find a $400 cab of. 7.77, is that? It's gotta be pounds. Could be wrong. Lucky 777. Oh, it might be pounds because this one says 4.36. Definitely feels that way, and for 200 bucks, that's not bad. You can make like, I don't know, like 6-7 cabs, really nice ones out of this, and pay everything off, and then have probably more than 100 left to go. I will definitely leave their information, like I said before, in the description section of this video. Tell them you want a nice chunk of this charite. It totally pays for itself. Alrighty. Some more Laguna. Here's a classic tiger's eye. It actually comes out of the ground in these like little chunky slab looking things. Again, this is a material that I don't like to cut. It can stink. You can like cut a big piece and you'll have pockets inside of your cab or something. Some people stabilize it. And it's also just one of those materials that you can buy a giant like 4.5-inch cab of for $1 or $2, where it's just not going to be worth your time. You're not going to be able to get the money out of this material. But a lot of people love to cut it just to cut it. And if you're one of those people that people buy from you just because of who you are instead of what you're selling, this is a classic and definitely can be worth it. These people have a lot of rocks. Gary Green. If I'm not mistaken, this is a petrified swamp wood. I think it comes from Oregon. Bogwood. I'm surprised that they don't mention that it's a petrified wood or a petrified swamp or bogwood when they advertise it. Only $5 a pound, because I think the bog and the swampiness makes it extra special. I wonder if they're like pulling it out while it's still in water in the swamp. Is it a dried up swamp or bog? I don't know. Is it really from Oregon? I also do not know. Perhaps one of the only petrified woods that I actually like to cut. It's just super special. Don't ask me to cut it though, because it is very hard. It might take a good hour to get a high quality cab out of it, and I am lazy and impatient. Peach flower lace for $5. I've never heard of this material before. Probably isn't new. You know, I might have seen it and just thought it was a Mexican crazy lace or a Mexican lace from the looks of it. But who knows? I'm sure I've seen this in some kind of giant box of slabs that I bought from a mom and pop during Quartzite or Buena Vista or something, but I really don't know. Pretty cool stuff though. Here's some more of it. This is a good color to take a look. This is a good piece to take a look at. Here's some nice druzy right there, or perhaps it's a vug. I don't know the difference. Let me know in the comment section below. What is the difference between a vug and a druzy? I am just a man that polishes rocks in his grandmother's garage, so I don't know these kinds of things. But educate me, please.
They got big old pieces of gold. Oh my god, big old pieces of road quartz too. Big old pieces of
yeah, this peach flower is awesome.
You get like a fat piece of goldstone.
They're talking about goldstone. If you folks don't know, goldstone is a man-made material. I think it's copper that they spray inside of the goldstone to make it colorful, but it is a glass. Kryptonite. Some of you folks have seen my live videos recently where I'm ranting on about all kinds of crazy stuff, like aliens, Bigfoot, the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show Society getting mad at me for using the word Tucson Gem and Mineral Show in my videos. But in those videos, I'm cutting a slab of this. This is $20 a pound, which is what I pay. I don't know what bin means. I guess if you buy the bin, it's $15 a pound. But it does grow in these cool little balls, little orbs. The pieces I'm getting is like a sheet. It's not slabbed from a bigger rock. It kind of just grows in a sheet, and these little balls grow on top. If you look at them, all of them are kind of broken off of something. Very cool. When you polish it, it almost looks like fluorite. It's a lot harder, so it's a lot easier to polish, and it's a lot easier to grind because you don't have to worry about all the chipping and stuff. Yeah, and sometimes it can grow epidote crystals inside of the material. Let's see if we can find a piece that has, right here, an epidote crystal growing out of it. It looks like tourmaline. If it was tourmaline, it'd probably be a lot more valuable. But I like the epidote crystals nonetheless. It is a dark green. Sometimes you can get the pieces where the epidote looks black. Very super cool. Some white lace agate. It is white. It is lacy. It is beautiful. I wouldn't be able to tell this from any of the other laces that we looked at today, except for perhaps a Laguna. Some good little figuring here. Valencia Jasper, $5 a pound. I've definitely seen a lot of this over the years. It's a classic. When I buy lots of slabs from mom and pops, like in a big box, and I'm sorting through it, I definitely see a lot of this stuff. I've never really cut it though. It's not really my cup of tea. Sodalite, most likely from overseas, but it does come from other places. Online they call it the poor man's lapis. Nowadays it has its own identity. Nobody's being tricked into buying this as lapis anymore. I think those are from times long ago when lapis was a lot more rare, at least in the United States. Now, you know, there's hundreds of thousands of tons everybody who's selling anything has something of lapis, and it's just not a stone you can trick people with lapis anymore. I do have a video somewhere in my video catalog on cutting some of this material. I talk about how it was traded by the natives in Peru. They found it at Carausupe. Very cool stuff that I'm very happy has its own identity. It is actually more difficult to polish this, in my opinion, than lapis. $1.50 a pound for some rose quartz. All of this stuff is huge, and I think it'd almost be a waste of time to slab this on a giant slab saw. I mean, rose quartz is definitely one of those stones that you can buy for like $1 or $2 as a giant cab in different qualities, and so it's just something I rarely cut. Sometimes I do when it has like some figuring and stuff or inclusions inside, but I almost never do. I have been really enjoying the material from Colorado though. I don't know where in Colorado. And I also hear that this is one of the rarest crystals to find naturally terminated. You know, a quartz crystal can be worth like 25 cents. You can probably get a nice organic piece of citrine for $10 or more. But I have never once in all of my years as a lapidary or collecting stones have seen a natural rose quartz terminated crystal. A lot of people carve large pieces of quartz into crystals and stuff, but it's not natural, like straight from the ground. I've never seen one. I hear they existed, and before this woman told me she was looking for one, I didn't even know that they were real. I just didn't think this material actually terminated like its other quartz brothers and sisters. All right, we're looking around. Bolo Jasper. Did it get its name because old timers were making bolos out of it back in the day? Is bolo like a Spanish or native word for something else? I don't know, most likely. But this is $5 a pound. Almost looks like Wonderstone, but a little bit darker. Almost looks like a sandstone, but a little bit more colorful. And they got a whole bunch of it. So buy a barrel. I'm sure they'll give you a deal and you can keep it in your yard, cutting for the rest of your life until you sell your house, and then with the barrel.